welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modes. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Thank you so much for tuning in, and now it's time to kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch You Outdoors is number 199. This week's title, Back to Fishing in the Keys. Catch You Outdoors brought to you by Spotify and lots of other streaming podcast sites. Howdy, y'all. I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in this morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, whenever you happen to be listening. Or whatever time you happen to be on listening. It's kind of weird. After doing radio all those years, you said, good morning, and because that's, anyway, you get it. I've been mulling over the next season of my podcast of Catch You Outdoors. I've got some changes planned. I'll be leaking that out as we head more through mid-August and early September. The new season begins on Thursday, September the 25th. That's a Thursday. So just so you know, that's when we'll be going to season 5. And that reminds me, if you are already listening on a specific streaming site and are happy with it, tell someone, please. I'm always surprised at how many people I meet here in the Keys that have no idea that they can listen to podcasts all over the place, not just Apple or something. And a lot of times people that make podcasts don't put them out on every single site. The distribution's kind of strange. Spotify's pretty good, but you still select who you want to have it. And that leads me to, if it's not appearing in a place that you like better than where you're listening, let me know. Heck, I was podcast naive 4 years ago. So and then when all this started, I'm really glad I joined this form of media, though. And thanks a bunch to my former radio show producer, Rick Church, with ESPN in Fort Myers, Florida, for steering me in the right direction. I was missing the microphone. And as it happened, I already had all the equipment I needed for podcasting, thanks to my previous stint in broadcasting, where we used to do some stuff at home and then transmit it or bring it into the studio. So I didn't really, no extra expense. I think eventually I bought a little fancier microphone so that it sounds bassier, so it has better voice. But anyway, so there will be some of the same in the new season and some big changes. So stand by, and thanks again for being a listener. I'm excited. I'm going to do some really, really fun, different stuff because I can. Let's cover some local items first. The Bubba Awards were held in Key West this past weekend, and I've managed to figure out who most of the winners were. They haven't released a list yet, probably come out today. On Thursday. That's when their newspaper comes out, and we'll probably see it then. The newspaper sponsored this, okay, just so you know, and they were one of the major sponsors. They are the major sponsor, and so apparently they're keeping it to themselves. They don't want to let the cat out of the bag, so that you have to go pick up an edition on Thursday, a free edition, I might add. So I've been perusing through Facebook because people love to brag, and it didn't take long to get a pretty good substantial list of who won. Now, let me clarify things. The Bubba Awards are basically the best of awards for Key West, and then the best of the Middle Keys and the best of the Upper Keys are also done. So, but they don't call it Bubba up here. It's just Upper Keys and the Middle Keys. Well, technically, it's the Lower Keys, Key West, and the Lower Keys are the Bubba Awards. So there, I clarified that for you. So this is Bubba Awards 2025. This is year 10 for these awards. Here's what I found so far, the ones that were the most interesting. Square Grouper, which just opened in Key West, literally this past year, not even a year, months, won Best Lunch and Best Overall Restaurant. How do you like that? The lunch, I absolutely get. I have talked about that here. They have a special lunch hour that starts, I think it's at 11 and goes till 2 or 2:30, and it's just absolutely great. Prices are less, especially if you're local. You really get a discount, but also portions are smaller, so you don't have to eat this massive plate full of food that you have to take with you. But anyway, I like it a lot. I've always liked Square Grouper. Their original store, the one up here in Islamorada, we go to as often as we can. And of course, now there's the one in Key West, but they won, which is really cool. Two Friends Restaurant, another one of our favorites, won Best Bloody Mary and Best Overall Breakfast. The Green Parrot cleaned up, got 3 awards. They got Best Bar, Best Live Music, and Best Late Night Spot. Does not surprise me. Let's see. Pepe's won Best Mojito. Best cup of coffee's at Baby's Coffee at mile marker 11. I think most people around here know that. And if you're traveling to and from the Keys, keep an eye out around mile marker 11 right before you start to roll into Key West itself. There's a little place on the left if you're going south. And there's always cars in front of it, and you'll have to wait. But it's the best coffee. It's the best coffee on the islands, period. So that didn't surprise me at all. Louis' Backyard, Best Waterfront Dining. Who else we got here? I'm reading through the list here. Best bait and tackle shop was Esky Rods. I have never been there in Key West. I will give it a shot. Best restaurant service and staff, La Trattoria. That is the Italian restaurant that Janelle and I went to in Key West on Duval and raved about on one of the podcasts. So that's good to see. Let's see who else is on here. Best brunch is at the Moondog Cafe. Best tourist attraction and the best place to take kids in Key West was won by the Key West Butterfly Nature Conservancy. Best volunteer community activist George Fernandez. By the way, he owns and runs the Butterfly Conservancy. Go figure. Best key lime pie is at Kermit's. Not a surprise. Let's see what else we got here. There's all kinds of stuff. Best dessert spot, Better Than Sex. If you've been there, boy, good stuff. Best happy hour at the Boathouse Bar and Grill. And the best raw bar is the Half Shell Bar. This one really got me. This last one, I'll tell you, is the best barbecue is at Smoked Barbecue on the Water. And guess where that is? That is for the Moose Lodge. I'm like, really? Having just joined Moose, we're going to have to check that out when we get to Key West. So the best barbecue, that's really, really cool. More news. Let's see. Lobster mini season is just around the corner. I mentioned this last week. This year, it happens on July 30th and 31st. Make arrangements if you're planning on staying in the Keys. You better do it now. Keep in mind that you still need a fishing license and a lobster stamp. They're required. There are also bag limits and size limits, so be sure to make yourself familiar with all of those. It's good to have an app. If you got a fishing app, it's good to have an app. That'll help you with that. Take the fun out of the event if you get arrested, so don't want to do that. Most of all, it's a pretty crazy time on the water, just so you know. It's really, really nuts for 2 days. So be careful out there. Watch closely for dive flags. Make sure you have your dive flag up. Make sure it's a regulated dive flag, a real dive flag. I believe, I haven't looked it up. I don't doubt it's changed, but your flag is not a flag like a floppy flag. It's got to have a wire retention in it to keep the flag out all the time, especially when there's no breeze. So make sure you get the right dive flag. And prepare for craziness. The real season opens on August 6th. There's usually lobster available by that evening, and certainly on August the 7th, just so you know. The guys are allowed to pull the traps early, I believe. I think they can do things a little. They just can't sell anything yet, so be aware of that. And the season stays open until March 31st, so you got a long, long time. And I'll be waiting until August 7th, like I said, before I jump in on this. Yeah. Let's see. Janelle scheduled a day for us down in Key West. I think I mentioned this too. Hemingway days are coming up, and she did a Hemingway day. That's going to be this Saturday. We're going to go down there and see the running of the bulls, which should be hilarious. They're not real bulls, okay? They're cardboard and wood on wheels, and they chase the prospective winners of the lookalike contest down Duval. I can't wait to see it. And then the big contest selection stuff starts over at Sloppy Joe's in the evening, so be there. We'll be spending the night, too. She got a room, so we're going to be staying so we can hang out. And I like Key West. Even now I've gotten to the point now where a day and a night's just fine. Get up in the morning, have a nice breakfast at one of our favorite spots, probably Two Friends. Or Blue Heaven. Blue Heaven's good too. Blue Heaven's really good, as a matter of fact. And then head home. Let's see what else. This week in the weather, it's windier coming up. Actually, we're having thunder showers and storms right now. I'm doing a podcast, and I'll hit pause if I have to for a thunder boomer. But we got exactly what they said was going to happen. It's been beautiful here. We've had some wonderful weather. We've had basically sunny, hot, humid, no wind, and what little wind there is, it'll blow 10, maybe 15 max, but most of the time 10. Heck, we had a couple of days when it was calm. So it's been really good. We unfortunately are playing now with sargassum seaweed. It has started to pile up on the Atlantic shoreline. It's been pretty still, like I said, and the smell is unpleasant. I ain't going to kid you. A good breeze will help, and I think we're going to start getting that on tonight, which is Wednesday, and Thursday for sure. We're going to start getting a pretty good breeze out of the east-southeast at 15 to 20, and that'll help push that stuff around. So. And tides, of course, larger tides are coming because of the new moon. So, but I just want to warn you. I tell you what, when you come down here in the summer and everybody wants to stay on the ocean, and I get that, and we have some beautiful ocean resorts here. If you can, stay on the bay. Find a lot of the bayside stuff is cozy, as I like to put it. They're smaller establishments. They have beautiful access out to Florida Bay. Most of them have man-made beaches with kayaks and all kinds of stuff behind it. So don't be afraid to stay on the bayside, and you'll avoid a lot of the sargassum. The sargassum comes in on the ocean side, and not a lot of it gets through the passes. Some does, but it's not as bad as if you're staying on one of the resorts facing the Atlantic. Just a tip, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to mention names, but I apologize to the resorts for saying this, but we all kind of know it's an issue, and hopefully it'll get better real soon. The more the wind blows, the better. I don't like it that way, but let's see, the moon, the new moon, right? Is it new? Yeah, new on Friday, so day after tomorrow. Really good move in water. Tides are low in the late morning around 10 a.m. and highs are in the late afternoon. Best fishing near the islands will be during that time. Keep in mind, if you travel up toward Flamingo and upper Florida Bay, the tides will be radically different. So, complete opposite. We went fishing this week, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's kind of fun to take off out of here where the water's going to low and get up there and it's going to high. It's just it is the most bizarre thing. Since it's only about 25 to 28 miles up to from Islamorada to Flamingo. I mentioned ICAST last week and that I'd be sharing some info from the event. One of the most surprising things and happy things for me to see was the news from Fitzgerald Rods. They're made right here in Florida, family-based company. They won Best Product in the Saltwater Fishing Rod category. That's a pretty big deal to win Best Saltwater Rod. Actually, it's a really big deal. Some of you might remember me talking about this. If you listened to my radio show years ago, I won an auction for one of the early rods in the early days of their production. They were probably a year old, 2 years old. And they were primarily a bass rod manufacturer, a conventional rod manufacturer for bass tournaments and stuff. And they started making spin rods. And they had, I think it was only one model. There might have been two. So I bid on it and I got it. Back then they sold for about $169. They're about $229 now for their rods. Beautifully made. I made a comment that these rods are as close to a custom as you can get without paying the price. A custom rod would cost you $350, $450. These are $229 to $239. I just looked it up a little while ago. I'm pretty sure that's right. They're fabulous. They're well made. The saltwater rods are real light and comfortable. I still have the two original ones that I got. After winning the auction on one, I bought another one the next year and loved them. I still have them. What they did now is they partnered up with Captain C.A. Richardson. If you've heard that name before, it's because you're a fan of his podcast, TV shows, his videos. He does all kinds of stuff. Captain Richardson does flats class fishing is what it's called. You can see it on the web on YouTube. Great instructional stuff. He's one of those guys that takes you fishing and it explains why and what and how, which a lot of guys don't. A lot of people catch stuff and go, it's a big one, isn't that great? And they move on to the next one. And you might get a glimpse of a rod and a reel, and you might get a glimpse of some equipment, but they don't dig in. And CA does. He digs in big time. So he paired up with Fitzgerald and helped them design saltwater rods. And so now they're available at FitzgeraldRods.com. And I'm just tickled. I'm tickled to see it because they're really nice people, and it's really, really great that they have these rods and that they won Best Saltwater Rod. Let's see, other local news. Another product I used years ago as a guide made Best Saltwater Fishing Reel. The Quantum Cabo is back. That was one of the first serious reels that I used when I was guiding, and I loved them. And they kind of went away. They're heavy was part of the problem. All these other manufacturers were making lightweights. And the Cabo had some issues. It did under really, really big fish. The center stem that you fit the spool on top of could actually bend, and that's not cool. Well, they fixed it. They made it better. And they did lighten it up a little bit, but it's still got the most amazing drag of any reel that I've ever used. And I'm glad to see they're back. They're built like a tank. They really are. They do weigh a bit now. This is a pretty serious reel. This is not cast it all day long type reel. I'll tell you that right now. But if you're looking for something to really fight big fish, medium-sized fish, especially fish out in the Gulf or in the Atlantic, check it out. Quantum Cabo. Let's see. Oh, I had to copy this. This was too funny. This is an opinion of a writer at the show with Garmin. Okay, Garmin came out with a fabulous, fully programmable trolling motor. Okay, this is not news. I think it was last year or the year before, but now they have a kayak with one. And basically, you go on your phone and you map where you want to go by touching your finger to spots, and it takes you there. You don't have to steer it. Well, of course you can, but I just think it's the coolest thing because when you're kayak fishing, it's a lot of fun to set a track and then be able to fish and not worry about where you're going. You set the speed you want to go. If you're cruising across the flat, you're going up against a mangrove edge you want to cast to. It's pretty cool. So Garmin's Force current kayak motor, he says, got hosed. I mean, it did win Best of Motorized Boating Accessories, but I thought it was going to be a shoe-in for the Best of Show. This is what this writer says. Oh, well, this is the kind of thing that happens when you let YouTubers and TikTokers vote along with actual journalists. How could you not cast your vote for industry's first hand-free wireless throttle and steering system? Daggone kids. Come on, they ruin everything. I'm not going to mention this guy's name, but I like him. It's very funny. And on that note, okay, Best of Show winner turns out to be the Flux Jet kayaks. Like flux capacitor. Everybody old enough, well, I think almost everybody would know, Back to the Future. But the first electric jet-powered kayak. Yep, no prop-based motor needed. Can you imagine? Basically, what we have now is a kayak that's a jet ski, but fortunately slower. And but anyway. I'm not going to get into it. I really am curious of how it works. I know that these things are propulsion systems, a jet system, which means it has to draw water in and push it out. I cannot imagine it being down here right now with sargassum and the loose seaweed of turtle grass and manatee grass floating everywhere. I think you'd be hopping out, turning it over and unplugging it to get going. I'm just saying this off the top of my head. But I love the name, the Flux Jet kayak. So anyway. Let's see. I saw last night. Oh, this little tidbit here. I saw last night. I was going through regulations, which I like to relay to you folks, if there are any, like what's open, what's closed. And the folks FWC announced a gag grouper opening in Gulf state waters on September 1st, and then it closes on. Wait for it. September 14th. So it's open for 2 weeks. I mean, really? Okay, so there's a problem with gag grouper numbers. I get it. Don't bother. Just leave it alone. Keep it closed. The argument there, of course, is the commercials still get to fish for it. I mean, really, what's the point? I wish I'll say this. This is coming from me, not from anybody else. I wish restaurants would stop serving grouper of any kind on their menus. Just take it off. This is where the problem started, and it's going to continue if something doesn't change And that's because we have commercial versus recreational, and commercial always wins. And recreational always suffers, even though we don't catch anywhere near as many fish as commercial does. Commercial generally has what they call weight sets. In other words, once they have to turn in all their catches and how much it weighed. And once they reach a certain amount of pounds, they close it down. And they give the piddlings to the recreational people if you want to keep a fish. Now, groupers closed a lot now. All of them, red, black, gag. Of course, Goliath is closed permanently right now. They haven't decided to open it yet. They're working on that, though. So ultimately what you have is the inability of going fishing for it as a recreational fisherman. Grouper has been a mainstay of Florida restaurants for years, and therein lies the problems. We have lots of other fish. We have mahi-mahi, also known as dolphin. We have yellowtail. We have all kinds of small snapper, mangrove snapper, things like that. We have sheep's head. Lots of edible fish that could be substituted on a menu. But like here in the Keys, we have, if it's the fish of the day, it's never grouper. It's almost always dolphin. That's just the way it is. Mahi is extremely popular. But I'll tell you what, I heard grumblings of more controls for mahi-mahi recently. So stand by. I like to eat fish. Don't get me wrong. I like to go to my favorite restaurant and eat fish. I just think they should not put grouper on the menu anymore. Just leave it alone. Let's see. Let's go fishing. Janelle and I headed out on Sunday into Florida Bay. The idea was to go to the flat that I had mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that she wasn't able to go to, one of the old flats that we used to fish. I wanted to show her to her once again. And, of course, we knew we'd get dinner, and we knew we were going to have a blast because if you keep a line wet, you're going to have a fish on in this location. Well, as we crossed the Rabbit Key Basin, this great big line of rain started to get in the way. And this is the kind of line that I don't trust, because not for lightning. When the Weather Service says there ain't going to be any rain, and you start to see this dark cloud line that was miles long across Florida Bay, I'm thinking they got it wrong again. And I'm like looking at this thinking, this is not good. And so as we got closer, the rain broke out on it. We were probably 3-4 miles south of it now. It was north of us, between us and Flamingo. And the rain started to come out. This is a cloud line that often produces water spouts. That's what I was more worried about. It'll start generating its own wind within. And we had a light breeze going on when we first got out there in the morning. I thought, let's not do that. So we made a left-hand turn after we got to the end of Rabbit Key, and we headed out toward the Gulf of Mexico, which ain't that far. You're probably talking another 4 or 5 miles, if that. Out to an area which we like to fish around, a little key called Sandy Key. And the Sandy Key is actually borders, it's southwest of Flamingo. It borders the Gulf of Mexico. It borders the Intracoastal Waterway. It's actually still in Everglades National Park. And I used to call it Gilligan's Island because it's kind of odd. You see all these keys out here with no beaches, right? They're all rock edges or rock surrounding or mangrove right to the edges. It's kind of weird to be in the middle of nowhere and actually see a key with sand around it. And we used to fish there a lot back in the 90s. Not around the key itself, but in the proximity of the key. So we got up there and near Sandy Key, and there just happened to be 3 other boats in the area. All of us spread way out. I'm talking like a mile apart. It wasn't like everybody was bunched up. And I make it a point to assume that every boat that's out there that came that far to fish is probably a guide. And I'm going to avoid them. I'm going to stay away and let them have their water. They're working for a living. And I used to be there, and I know what that's like. So, it's unlikely that people would run that far unless they came out of Flamingo, and even that was unlikely, to tell you the truth. Then again, we could also say the guys don't want to work on a Saturday or Sunday, but that's beside the point. So we stopped, and we were about maybe 2 miles south of Sandy. I don't know. And then we decided, I got the charts out. I like using paper charts when I'm making decisions, by the way. I'm not wild about the GPS. GPSs are great, but the problem is you got to put your finger on it. You got to sweep it around, look. You got to increase size, decrease size. I just find that to be a pain, to be honest with you. I don't mind taking a GPS and putting a mark on it saying I need to go there. And then leaving marks on really good fishing areas. I'll do that too. But reality is I much prefer a chart. Yeah, I'm old. And that's just the way it is. So I got a chart out, started looking around where we were, figured out what banks we were near, what water we were near, how much there was. I said, let's move over this way just a little bit and start fishing. We were about in 7, maybe to 6 feet of water. I'm not sure, but it looked good to me. I mean, there's grass on the bottom. We're in 5 to 7 feet of water, and there's thick turtle grass and manatee grass on the bottom. So I picked up a rod that was pre-rigged, and I said, I'm just going to make a cast, see what's going on the bottom here, see what happens. I use the Pink Shine Gulp swimming mullet. That's been my go-to. Most people know that on a Z-Man, 1/8 ounce jig head. And they call it the Trout Eyes is the model of the jig head. They're unpainted, but they have these beautiful, bright, big eyes on them. And I use the green eyes. And I cast it out, and I jigged it off the bottom about 1 or 2 times, and a mangrove snapper attacked that sucker, and he went in the box. I was like, whoa, that was quick. So we just basically started a drift rather than anchor. We were out in the open, literally on the edge of the intercoastal water. We're technically still in the park. And Janelle got up, and I rigged her up, and we started casting around, and we got another nice snapper, a big trout. And then we were getting killed by these little snapper. These things were, I don't know, 8 inches long, 9 inches long, barely. Let's say 7 to 8. And they were whacking our lures so hard. I mean, they were starving, obviously, but they were tearing the tails off. And then, of course, those things stop working for any other fish. The snapper will eat a chunk of gulp. They don't really care. But that's not what we were after. We weren't after teeny fish, and it was fun to have the action, but it wasn't working really well. So after we made 2 drifts and it kept happening, I said, John, hang on, we're just burning through these gulp mullet. Let me dig in my box and see what I can find. Well, I keep this box on the boat. It's yellow. It's one of those Pelican cases, and it's a mid-size one. And I stuff all the weirdness in there that I have accumulated either from shows I've gone to, or I bought one off the shelf because it looked interesting and then it never got used. So I put it in that box, and I put that box on the boat. And that's my backup go-to. When things ain't working, I will go in that box and start rummaging around. I'm sure most of you that fish, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The frustration level gets to a certain point. You're like, this is not working. I got to go looking. So I got in the box, and I'm digging around, and I put on I found 2 packages of cow paddle tails, which are like DOA cow paddle tails. There was a brown colored one. I didn't think that would work that day, but there was a white one with a chartreuse tail. I got that out, put it on the same jig head, cast it out, and nothing. I mean, nothing. Like not even a hit. I'm like, what is going on? Eventually I had one ladyfish grab it. I'm like, okay, well, there's something here. I'll fish it slower. So I started playing with it. Nothing. I really couldn't get much to bite it. So Janelle continued fishing with the burning up the little mullets, the Pink Shine mullets. I went back in the box and started digging around, and there it was. The Savage Gear Manic Shrimp. All right, y'all running to look it up now. I know. Savage Gear Manic Shrimp. I'm like, where in the hell did I get this? And there were 2 packages with 2 each in there. They're molded packages to kind of make this shrimp stay in position. And it's an awesome looking shrimp. I mean, I ain't kidding you. It looks live. And this is kind of a dull pink color, so it looks like a Gulf pink shrimp. And I'm like, okay, it's pre-weighted at 1/8 ounce. I think it was. Hang on, let me look it up. I wrote stuff down for you. 3/8 of an ounce, 3.5 inches long, slow sinking, it says. So it's already got the weight in it, and it's already got the hook. And the weight is hooked to the hook, so it's all one part. DOA does that a little different. They put the weight in separately, and then they put the hook in separately, which is fine. I've used a ton of DOA shrimp. This had antennas. This thing's remarkable looking. I thought, what the hell? First cast. I mean, that sucker got hit so hard, it was comical. And it was a big snapper. Really large snapper, number 2. That one went in the box. And I thought, this is really wild. So I started plunking around with it and tied one on for Janelle. And we started plunking around at the same time. We got ladyfish, got 2 nice trout. We got a 17-inch, no, is that right? a 19-inch trout, that's right, and an 18-inch trout. And we kept those two to add to our dinner box. We figured, this way we got 2 dinners, which we did. I'll talk about that in a second. Everything else we started turning loose. I honestly don't know how many fish we caught on that thing. It stayed pretty much pristine, too, during all the nonsense, all these different fish. I eventually hooked up a great big sail cat. Now, there's something I haven't seen since I left the Fort Myers area. That's pretty common, especially when we fish for tarpon. It's not unusual if you're going to use bait or something to get sail cats, and they're large. I would say this thing probably weighed 3 to 5 pounds, somewhere in that range. A really pretty big one. Of course, he's out in the Gulf Edge, so he's going to be big. And I thought, man, I got a pig on. This is going to be great. I can't wait to see it. And up pops this giant, slimy catfish. I'm like, oh, my God. But he ate that fake shrimp, and he ate it like he meant it. That was what was so cool about it. So we had pretty good visibility out there. We moved around into 5 to 4 feet. We caught fish up until we decided it was time to go. The winds were coming up. Janelle does not do well in wind. And remember, now we're in the Gulf, so we're not in a flat in the back where it's mellow and calm. It was getting wavy, and she was looking a little green in the gills, and I don't like that. I don't want her to feel that way. So I said, let's pack it in. We'll head back. We got a good 45, 50-minute ride back to the marina from where we were anyway, so it's going to take a while. So we did, but we got a lot of good stuff for dinner. A couple of nights ago, Janelle made mangrove snapper in the pan with capers and butter and lemon on it. Ooh, that was good. Last night I made my fried fingers, my trout fingers, where I took it and I just used Uncle Buck's and put it on a little bit of avocado oil and fried them up. And Janelle makes her very, very special dipping stuff, her tartar sauce. God, her tartar sauce is great. So we've had 2 really nice fish dinners, and I'm happy that we did what we did. We're not going to, the thing that I've learned again, and I think I talked about this last week, is that you got to go far. I got spoiled in Fort Myers, where you can leave the dock on a trolling motor and go catch fish. And you can idle to a fishing area back in Estero Bay. You don't need to motor to speak. You can, but you don't need to. Pine Island you do, but everything's really, really close. You're only going to do maybe 6-7 miles a day round trip to fish a lot of the good places in Pine Island. Here, it don't work that way, and I'd forgotten that, to be honest with you, because back in the day, we took that little 17-inch Key West and easily ran 50 miles a day on it. 25 miles to the fishing grounds and 25 miles back. So, and that's backcountry. Now, Atlantic, of course, would be different, but in a little boat, you got to get the exact right winds, and we ain't had that. We've had an awful lot of windy weather that puts a nasty swell out front. And I ain't going out there in a little boat. That's just plain dangerous. So anyway, I really can't wait to get more on this. I jumped online when I got home after this. I went on there and ordered a couple more of the Savage baits. I got another package of the artificial pink ones, and I also found one that looks really good. It's kind of a pale green. And a lot of shrimp that you get, bait shrimp that you buy out of the tanker, have that funny green hue to them. And I thought, what the hell? Let's try that. So I'll keep you posted and let you know on future podcasts what's going on. I think that's all I've got in this mess. I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss anything. We're okay. Now it's time for useless information. How about that?
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
And here we go. Creepy crawlies, this is called. An estimated 80% of creatures on Earth have 6 legs. The first medical use of leeches dates back to approximately 2,500 years ago. The leech's saliva contained a property that acts as an anticoagulant for human blood. Lovely. The leech has 32 brains. The leech will gorge itself up to 5 times its body weight and then just fall off of the victim. The Amazon leech uses a different method of sucking blood, though. It inserts a long proboscis into the victim as opposed to biting. All I could think about when I was reading that is The African Queen. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, with Humphrey Bogart. And Stand By Me, the one by Stephen King with the boys looking for the body. Yeah. Yee. Anyway, that's it for now. And before I go, here's some final words. Change is difficult for a lot of folks. That's why many people stay right where they were born and never wander. It's also a distinct problem with a lot of anglers, including myself. I'll find something that works and then refuse to make a change, which in all honesty is a huge mistake. After all, we've all seen how many lures and flies are available on the shelves and the walls of most tackle shops. They must all work, right? No, well, not exactly. I believe it comes down to locations, weather, water clarity, and about 10,000 other variables. After what happened on this last fishing trip with my lure change decision, I'm going to do my best to experiment a lot more. A whole lot more. I promise. Y'all take care, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please subscribe to the podcast channel, and don't forget to tell a friend. The Facebook page is Catch You Outdoors. Website is catchyoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts, purchase my books, and find news about my music. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.